Welcome everybody to another edition of WCW 2003, as we're at WCW Mayhem live from the Verizon Center in Washington, D.C. in front of 18,000 fans, as it's time for Mayhem, as we're continuing on the series on the road to Starrcade, and of course the finals of the big Mayhem tournament, and the end of the Mayhem prediction tournament. So, first, as a quick check of where we are, as far as where we are in the standings for that, so take a quick look. We've got at the bottom, Rise of the Van Dam with 14 points, World Title RVD at 16 points, World Title Sean O'Hare at 17 points, J-Nap at 20, and Xander XL at 23 points. And I'll go ahead and update that basically after the end of this first round, after the end of these quarterfinals, and then of course at the finals themselves. But now let's go on to the actual show. So the show, so we have the opening video involving all the competitors in the tournament, Ric Flair and Eddy Guerrero, and this gets a 74. As we basically start off the show, with a solid little video, and then of course it's time for our opening match of the tournament, which is Ray Jr. versus RVD, and this is a back and forth, high flying match. Everybody hitting their spots, clean, big suplexes, big moves, big dives, all over. But in the end, RVD is that much better and is able to big 5-star frog splash to get the win. So yeah, and about had superb wrestling and great heat, Rob Van Dam defeated Rey Mysterio Jr. in 21:56 by pinfall with a 5-star frog splash. Ray gets an 87, RVD gets a 91, 88 overall, and yeah, just a really good match, as everybody's as baby faces fight with each other, but in the end RVD gets the big win to advance into the finals. Which, good thing RVD won for about 3/5 of the people making predictions. And then afterwards we have a handshake and then a hug between the two, which gets a 70. So then we have our next match, which is actually Morningstar versus Sting. So of course, the never-ending feud between babyfaces and the Deadpool continues here, as Morningstar and Deadpool fight, but Morningstar and Sting fight. Sting is able to hit his big moves. Morningstar is that a little bit quicker. He's a little bit younger, and at the end of the day, there's no interference. Morningstar cheats a little, obviously he gets he attacks Sting on the outside, he drops on the guardrail, but in the end, Morningstar is able to do it. Oh shit. That's a totally different match. I'm a moron. Okay, we'll come back to that match in a second. Okay, so actually, never mind. Billy Kidman versus Jeff Hardy. Okay, so as you see here, they both had great heat and good wrestling. Billy Kidman defeating Jeff Hardy in 13:59 by pinfall with a shooting star press after April Hunter interference. So actually, what happens here is, this is a battle of the top light heavyweights / cruiserweights / high flyers of their era. Hardy, flies all over. Kidman, of course, has turned heel and been a little more ground based, but of course, he begins to fight back, because if Hardy's going to go high flying, he's going to high flying, and eventually, Hardy hits a swanton. April puts Kidman's foot on the ropes. Hardy gets obsessed about that. Kidman's able to attack her from behind, but eventually, this isn't like April Hunter hitting with a chair or anything. This is April Hunter distracting him just enough for Kidman to hit the Kid Crusher, but then Kidman, for basically maybe one of the first time since he turned heel, basically a year ago, goes up top and hits the huge shooting star press to eliminate Hardy from the tournament. And yeah, 74. Kidman gets a 79. Hardy gets a 74. Unfortunately, Kidman and Hardy don't seem to click, but still, they did a really good match. And then afterwards, Kidman and April Hunter celebrate. So then we move forward, which gets a 43 because I actually rated April Hunter, which I probably shouldn't have done, but what can you do? So then we go on to the actual next match, which is Sting versus Morningstar, which we just went over. So, and they both had great heat and good wrestling. Morningstar defeated Sting in 10:42 by pinfall with a last rights. This gets an 86. Just a really good match, as Morningstar gets an 80, Sting gets an 76 because basically Sting is still really over. Actually, let me just check why that went over. Okay, so great gimmick, high morale, good momentum, charisma, star quality, high experience, hot crowd. Yeah, okay. I mean, so everybody's really over and hot storyline. So there you go. But again, Morningstar advances to the finals, and it seems the plan, the message had for him is so far successful, as he's in the finals, and they just knocked out Sting. And now, afterwards, Morningstar celebrates, which gets a 72. And then we're on to our final quarterfinal match, as it's Jeff Jarrett versus Sean O'Hare. Jeff Jarrett does his brawling, mid-2000s Jeff Jarrett thing. O'Hare fights back with clotheslines and a few big suplexes, basic, U.S. Pro style match. But of course, as there's a rough bump, Shane Douglas comes in to interfere, and he does knock, basically comes from behind, is able to hit O'Haire with the chain from behind. But Jarrett is, goes for the stroke, but O'Haire fights out of it, and at the end of the day, kick, wham, Widowmaker. And about had a fantastic heat and decent wrestling. Sean O'Haire defeated Jeff Jarrett in 12-19 by pinfall with Widowmaker. During the match, we also had Shane Douglas run in and attack O'Haire. Unfortunately, this one gets a 64. O'Haire got a 68. Jarrett got 67. They didn't click, which is unfortunate. Was there anything else that hurt it? Okay, lack of associated storyline. Okay, I should have bumped them together in a storyline, but not the end of the world. So yeah, basically just sort of a basic match. Douglas tries to run in to cause trouble, but O'Haire still gets the big win because he's Sean O'Haire and he's out to the finals. And then afterwards, we've got Sean O'Haire celebrating to a 68. So that means the standings going to the finals are the following. At the bottom, we've got Rise of Van Dam with 19 points. Gene Abbott at 20 points because he's managed to pick nobody in the final four, which is unfortunate. The world title, the RVD, who picked RVD at 21. Of course, per person who picked Sean O'Haire to win at 22. And Xander XL, because he somehow got RVD and Morningstar through the finals, is in there at 33 points. So, if you noticed, it's 1 point for the first round, 3 points for the second round, 5 points for this quarterfinals, and 10 points for the finals. Basically, here's how it goes. Xander has won, so congratulations to him. But the most interesting thing is here who picks up the second place. Basically, if RVD wins, he gets second place. The person who picked RVD wins. If O'Haire wins, he gets second place. And unfortunately, both Jane App and Rise of Van Dam are both out of it. You guys tried, but Jane App, you were really hurt by picking nobody, and the Rise of Van Dam prediction just didn't have enough people in the finals. But I'll be back with the actual final list in just a second here. So then we're going off to the next match, which is the women's title match. It's Gail Kim versus Jordyn Cole. Of course, Gail Kim just sort of I don't want to say Jordyn Cole randomly, won the number one contendership in that wacky 8-man all-comers match. But, she is a big competitor. She's been a top contender for the world title before. But, Gail Kim, wants to prove that, she's the future of women's wrestling. So they have a, pretty back-and-forth match where in the end, Gail Kim is able to get the clean victory. So in about had terrible wrestling, that's just mean, and non-existent crowd heat, Gail Kim defeated Jordyn Cole in 10:30 by pinfall. Just a straight-ahead pinfall win, and Gail Kim makes defense number 2 of her WCW Women's World title. Gail Kim gets a 60, Jordyn Cole gets a 51. So, solid match, and then Gail Kim celebrates to get to 72. Kim's actually getting solidly over with this, but yeah, still solid stuff. And then next up is the Cruiserweight 3-way, as it's between, AJ Styles. Remember, Jamie Knoble was, talking about he had no contenders. AJ Styles, said, A-Ray, basically confronted him, said, Knoble made the joke that, he could beat both of them tied behind the back. Bischoff was like, okay, we can do that. And there we go. It's AJ Styles versus A-Ray versus Jamie Knoble with the Cruiserweight title on the line. So, solid as you expect beginning, as everybody's just flying all over. Basically a 2-on with the baby faces, but people still cheer because Jamie Noble's been an asshole. But in the end, eventually, Styles and Paris do fight, but it's not like a heated. It's both of these guys do want to become champion, and that allows Noble to get some shots in. But the actual end is, Styles has, hit a huge dive on the Knoble on the outside, but Paris, is recovering, so he's the one that actually gets the throw. Knoble looks like he's going to win the title, but Sable comes in, drills him with a powerbomb of doom, and Jamie Knoble is able to get the roll up and keep, lock Paris into the guillotine choke, and AJ Styles can't make the save, and with Paris knocked out, the ref has to call for the bell. So in a decent match, Jamie Knoble defeated Air Paris and AJ Styles in 12:46 when Knoble submitted Air Paris with a guillotine choke after interference from Ebony Sable, and Knoble makes defense number 4 of his Cruiserweight title. So this gets a 66, Air Paris gets a 71, and AJ Styles, because he's great, gets a 78. And of course, post-match, Knoble and Sable celebrate to a 48. Then next up, we have basically a match thrown together just so people don't get overly pissed at not being on the card. Because, sort of the wacky way this, pay-per-view is, people who are, decently over getting pushed aren't on the card because I have to, have the quarterfinals and the finals on. But anyway, regardless. So, in an 8-man tag match, and he both had good wrestling, decent reaction in the crowd. Shane Helms, Gigantes, and Team Canada of Lance Storm and Mike Awesome defeated Scott Steiner, Alex Wright, Jason Jett, and Paul London 11:48 when Mike Awesome pinned Paul London with an Awesome Bomb. This gets an 82. Jesus, that's good. London gets a 73. Jett gets a 63. Alex Wright gets a 76. Scott Steiner gets an 82. Again, that's right. Steiners were still really good in the ring. Lance Storm gets a 70. Gigantes gets a 62. Shane Helms gets an 85. Mike Awesome gets a 71. So yeah, solid stuff. Just your back and forth 8-man tag match, but eventually Awesome, basically, has Paul London, and if it's Mike Awesome versus Paul London, bad things are going to happen to Paul London, and that's what happens, and the heels get the clean victory, and then they celebrate post-match to get a 73. So again, just a solid, match again, just to, because, I want to keep, because Helms words are hard. Helms wasn't on the show tonight otherwise, and of course, I want to push the triumvirate. But yeah, solid match, and then it's time for the tag titles, so Hart Legacy get in their rematch after dropping titles that America was wanted, and again, this is your typical early 2000s, mid-2000s tag team high work rate match, everybody hitting their moves, Harrison Storm acting like Harrison Storm, Hart and Evans flying all over the ring, but at the end of things, just what it looks like, the Hart Legacy have hit a few big moves in a row, including their huge, massive springboard heart attack. What happens is, basically, Teddy Hart... Oh, shit. Okay. I screwed up the booking of this. God damn it. Well, okay, what it should say here is, basically, Hart Legacy defeat America's Wanted by DQ when James Storm gets potentially disqualified fighting Teddy Hart. Yeah, I messed that up. I totally messed that up. I fucked up the booking. So basically, AMW saved their titles by walloping, Teddy with the belt right in front of the referee, and that allows AMW to retain the titles. Storm gets a 70, Harris gets a 68, Evans gets a 73, Teddy Hart gets a 68, 76 overall, so a really good match. And then post-match, AMW slip out with the titles to a 64. So again, really good stuff, really solid, straight, not the most exciting stuff in the world, but I kind of didn't have, have to have tag title defense. I just had to win the titles. I didn't want to flip the titles right back to Hart Legacy, so sort of just have to do a shit finish, unfortunately. Then next up, we've got Chuck Palumbo versus Kanyon. Of course, Kanyon's has the world title shot at Starrcade versus Eddy Guerrero. Palumbo's has his own feud with Kanyon's stablemate Ric Flair. So as Eddy and Flair are facing off in a bit, this is the other match that's been set up. So again, in a back and forth match, in an exceptional match, Kanyon defeated Chuck Palumbo in 1944 by pinfall basically what happens with a fast roll up. So, Palumbo's doing his stuff, but Kanyon's fights back. But again, Kanyon's be able to hit some sort of rolling cradle / victory roll out of an attempted Palumbo attack, and basically hold the tights and get the pinfall victory and get the big win. This goes, like I said, almost 20 minutes. It gets an 86 overall. Palumbo gets an 83. Kanyon gets a 91. Like psychology, because Cole and Kanyon, we're not exactly talking Misawa and Flair here. But yeah, good stuff. Let me see if there's anything else that was on the downside of this. Let me see here. Okay. Yeah. Like psychology, but that's it about it. So again, really good match. And then Kanyon celebrates afterward, gets a 68. So yeah, next up, we've got the match was basically set up out of nowhere, but it's been heating up for the past couple months, which is Booker versus Vampiro. And, this is just a fight from the start. Actually what happens is, Vampiro's coming out doing his spooky entrance, and Booker just attacks him from behind from the start, and from there the brawl is on. First it's, down the ringside area, against the guardrails, maybe a bump over the announcer's table, then it's finally in the ring. Vampiro fights back with his own cheating ways, but Booker is just, taking the fight to him. And eventually, at the end of things, Booker is just like last month, really taking the fight. He hits the bookend, but he's not ready to go for the pinfall victory. He uses a kick, but that allows Vampiro to cheat, and break the eyes, hit a low blow. But Vampiro goes for the nail in the coffin, but Booker gets out of it, hits, basically another bookend. But then Booker rolls out, grabs a chair, and just like last month, the ref, basically tells him to stop. But he just, as Vampiro gets up, he just wallops him with the chair. So, in a bout had fantastic heat and good wrestling, Vampiro defeated Booker T in 14:26 when Booker T got disqualified after going attacking Rage. This gets a 76 because these guys don't click. Not the end of the world or anything, but that's why also, they haven't had a huge feud, but, there you go. And then post-match, like, you see, basically Vampire just laid out and eventually rolls out of the ring. And, like, so now Booker's upset that referee Mickey J disqualified him. So it looks like he's going to wall Mickey J when RVD comes out and basically stops him and talks him down and really gets him to come to the back. And this gets a 71. So, and then next up we've got our semi-final, semi-main event. It's Eddie Guerrero versus Ric Flair. World title not on the line because, Eddie's, not Eddie, but Kanyon's getting the title shot at Starrcade. But, Flair's basically in here to basically, prove, he can still do it old school. And, this is not a long match. It's 12 or 13 minutes. Basically, it's, everybody hits their high spots. Flair cheats. Flair locks in the figure four. Eddie gets out of it. Eddie actually cheats. Eddie locks in the lasso from El Paso. Flair gets out of that. Trot battle. Hits the big suplexes. But in the end, Eddie Guerrero is the world champion. And, by that measure, the best wrestler in the world. And Ric Flair is still Ric Flair, but he's an older Ric Flair. So in the end, still a goddamn awesome match. Jesus Christ. Okay. I was not expecting... Oh, so actually, the whole description? Let's go back. Let's redo that. So this is basically Eddie, Ric Flair turning the clock back for one night. So they just, Flair just completely takes the fight to him. Suplexes, chops, low blows, woos, locking the figure four. Eddie fights back. They're battling. It's, just high intensity. But in the end, Eddie Guerrero is still Eddie Guerrero. And Ric Flair is still, I think, over 50 at this point. Yes, I'm sure over 50 at this point. And so at the end, Eddie is still able to hit a huge second rope superplex, then go up to the top, hit the frog splash, and get the 1, 2, 3. This gets a 94. Wow. Eddie gets a 94. Ric Flair gets an 88. And then post-match, of course, what happens is, as Eddie is celebrating, Kanyon attacks from behind, absolutely drills him with the Kanyon cutter, and then holds the world title up before dropping it down on Eddie as we get the final heat up to Starrcade. 86, good stuff. So now it's main event time. So of course, again, our top four four guys are Rob Van Dam, Billy Kidman, Morningstar, and Sean O'Haire in a ladder match. So a lot of this match is basically Sean O'Haire playing the bass as the other guys fly over. Kidman flies off the top. Kidman and RVD brawl some. Morningstar and O'Haire, of course, have no love lost, but eventually, RVD wins out over RVD. Morningstar even have no love lost, of course, because he's got involved in the feud with Deadpool. Kidman and O'Haire, of course, Kidman eliminated O'Haire, so they had the short little feud. Of course, Kidman and O'Haire, Kidman's part of the Triumvirate, and O'Haire has his, got turned on by the Triumvirate, so there we go. So, we got four guys who all have their own issues for not liking each other. I guess not the two heels and two baby faces, but, mixed messages, so everybody's fighting. We've got chairs, we've got table bumps, we've got ladder bumps, and of course, what actually happens is we have 3 huge ladder bumps in this match. Because, hey, it's Sean O'Haire and 3 guys who fly. So the first thing that happens is, I want to say, this goes about 20 minutes. So, 14 minutes in, RVD is, RVD, has hit the Van Daminator and is tying up top. But what happens is, April Hunter basically, gets to the top rope and, distracts him. RVD sort of yells at her, and that allows Kidman to basically knock over the ladder, and RVD takes a huge bump through a table at ringside, so he's basically knocked out. Next up is, then it's it's 2-on-1, but what happens is, both, eventually the heels, start fighting each other, and they both climb up to the top rope. But O'Haire recovers, climbs up behind them, and from the top, O'Haire grabs, O'Haire grabs, who is it? Who's the other guy? Yeah, Kidman gets him on his shoulders and just basically tosses him right from the top of the ladder to the floor. Kidman takes a huge bump. He's out, but that, it looks like Morningstar is going to take advantage of that, and he knocks O'Haire down, but by the same time, he also goes off the top, so it looks like it's too late, but, there's been a ladder, basically a ladder bridge set behind. So O'Haire grabs Morningstar, puts him on his shoulders, Widowmaker, through the ladder, and then slowly but surely O'Haire climbs to the top. So yeah, this gets an 81, which I sort of expected because, these guys aren't the best workers in the world, but, they're all really solid. O'Haire gets an 86, Kidman gets a 90, Morningstar gets an 86, RVD gets a 91. Also, there was no yeah, I forgot to add a storyline on this because I'm a moron. Yeah, so this, oh no, okay, we still, okay, they held O'Hare triumvirate, okay. But yeah, everybody took crazy bumps, nobody died, which is a positive. But yeah, really good stuff, 81, and then the show ends with O'Hare celebrating to end the show, which gets an 86, which of course means, also, as a side of note, here are your final standings for the prediction contest. Xander FXF wins. The Sean O'Hare prediction is in second with 32. RVD prediction is third with 21. J-Nap's just at 20. And Rise of Van Dam is at 19. I'll be emailing... I'll either be contacting via Reddit or emailing the 3 people who won. Obviously, any people being added to the roster or pushes or depushes won't be happening until after Starrcade. So I don't need your answer right away. But basically, I will give people till when I post the January pay-per-view. Well, yeah, obviously, if part of your prize is the January pay-per-view, but otherwise, so basically, again, I'll be emailing you, or messaging you via Reddit. You can ask me any questions you want about your prize, ask any list for people. Remember, I did go over basically, over people who are available to hire, who's in my developmental territory in past videos. You can look at that, but you can always ask me your own questions, and, obviously there. But again, so congratulations to Xander for winning. Congratulations for these 2 folks for being in second and third. Of course, thanks for Jamp and Rise of the Van Dam for putting in their predictions. Again, hopefully next year there'll be a lot more predictions and a lot more, chance for people to win. Again, overall, show gets an 84. So, again, not our best pay-per-view. If we would have had a hotter storyline for the finals, that might have helped. So, obviously, let's see here. Sean O'Hare. Well, yeah, because you wrestled twice. Well, actually, let's give the credit to the 3 people who died to get O'Hare over. So there we go. And because it's the end of the month, we'll check everybody's not overness. Yeah, we'll check some overness. We'll look at our storylines and all other fun stuff to close things out as we begin the road to Starrcade. As this loads, got a new laptop. TEW, not that much quicker, which is kind of hilarious to me. So, okay. So, ooh, interesting. Okay. So Sting has been identified as someone who's abused painkiller by... Okay. So, here's the thing. I had a plan for Sting at Starrcade, but it wasn't a huge part of Starrcade. So Sting, you get to go to rehab. Nitro deal has one. Okay, so also we've got some contract signing. USA. Okay, so we finished last out of 2, which I'll double check in a second. So, okay, Haku's contract is up. Obviously, we're not signing him. Lex Luger's contract is up in a month. It's too bad for him. Gigantes' contract is up for a month. And because he's actually been decent, I'm going to re-sign him. Stevie Ray's contract is up, and I'll probably resign him just to keep Booker happy. Don Marie's contract is up, and I'll probably keep her around, even though Ginger and Zajac haven't had the hugest push. Don Marie's over enough. Monty Brown's developmental contract is ending, and, well, there's a reason I'm going to keep him around. Scott Taylor, he's been a pure jobber. He hasn't been used as much as I thought he would, so I'll probably let him go. And, yeah. Why does it say that? Okay. Sure. Let's see here. What is WD doing? Okay, they're basically expanding. Yeah, okay. They're basically having everything expanded. Okay, that makes sense. Nothing else in the mail, right? Nope. Okay, just that stuff. So, if we look at our storylines, Flair for the Old is at an 85. Cruiserweight Fun is at a 57. The Goldberg Morningstar Messias feud is at a 85. Gigantes Steiner are at 76. This, which is going to be over, is at an 81. O'Hare versus the Triumvirate is at a 79. Road to Starrcade's at a 91. Tag Wars is at a 76. Vampiro Booker is at a 76. And Women's Title Showdown is at a 59. Titles. Cruiserweight title. Jamie Nobles at a 72. That's about the same as it was before. Prestige of the Mayhem tournament is down to 82, unfortunately. U.S. title is still at a 75. Women's world title is at a 57. World TV title is at a 5. See, it's up from a 3. World tag titles are at a 74, so down a point, which makes sense. And the world heavyweight title is down to an 84, which can make sense because didn't defend the title. Let's see here, merch-wise. So our top guys for last month was Goldberg. Jesus, he's really over. RVD, O'Hare, Booker, Steiner, Palumbo, Kanyon, Macias, Eddy, Vampiro, Wright Jr., Ric Flair, Sting, Jordyn Lawler, Jarrett, Jeff Hart. It's always funny. Let's see who's like the bottom guys. Okay, we got Heenan, Lawler, Lane Storm. Out. That's bad for Storm that Dusty Rhodes is selling more merch than him, or that Reno is selling more merch than him. That's hilarious. Okay, but let's look at our roster real quick, just to go over some guys. So we got major stars. Oh right, let me reset everything. There we go. Major stars. So Goldberg, I just as a side effect, I gave Goldberg and Macias the night off because, well, they're not wrestling and they would be hurt by not being on the show, so just gave him the week off. Kidman. So Kidman, let's see here. How over is Kidman? Okay, so Kidman actually isn't that much more over. Let's see here. Booker T. Booker T lost. Basically, he lost a point, which makes sense. Chuck Palumbo. Let's see here. Did winning... Okay, Palumbo dropped a couple points from losing, which, makes sense. Eddy having a great... Yeah, I'm really beginning to think there's a cap on Eddy. Which sucks, but, what can you do? Jarrett, let's see here. Yeah, because Jarrett, I mean, in theory, Jeff Jarrett is more over than Eddy, real quick, which is just stupid. Anyway, Kanyon's about the same. Let's see here. Morningstar. Okay, Morningstar went up either a point, a couple points. He went 4 points up to New England, but it's good solid stuff. Wright Jr., let's see here. Wright Jr., about the same. Ric Flair. Yeah, he dropped a point or two. RVD. Again, about the same, give or take. Scott Steiner. Holding steady. Sean O'Hare. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, he didn't gain that much from winning because he went over people he never went over. Shane Helms. About the same. Sting, let's see here. Sting, okay, Sting actually went up a couple points. I guess being an 88 match helps you out if you're not that over. Vampiro. Yeah, Vampiro went down a couple points because he did the job Sting, and he lost. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. But he can be easily rebuilt. So let me see. Let me check out my stars. See if there's any big differences. Let's see here. AJ's about the same. I think that tells me everybody else will be. Let me see. Did Hardy get hurt by losing? Oh, that's his match history, not his popularity. I'm smart. Hardy, okay. Hardy actually, yeah, because he beat Mike Awesome. Okay, so he's actually up. Like, he's actually getting pretty over. Which, again, for a guy who has a drug problem, probably not the best. Well known. Yeah, none of these guys really matter. Nice little... Yeah, and also, yeah, Gail Kim is slowly getting more over as our top heel. Women. Oh yeah, and size real quick. So track progress. Yeah, we're about even. Let me see here. Canada, we're really getting over just because we weren't on TV before. Mexico's we're holding steady. British Isles we're holding steady. We actually went up a point in Southern England. Japan we're holding steady. Europe we're slowly getting more over. Oceania, India, there you go. And yeah, if we go back to the battles real quick, go to the right thing. Yeah, so we actually, yikes, like, yeah, they actually beat us by quite a bit. Again, I really should have created a new storyline for the finals, but, shit happens, what can you do? But yeah. Oh, and let me look at, yeah, right, this is just all the email. Okay. Okay, so yeah, that is it. I hope you enjoyed watching this, this big pay-per-view. If you enjoyed this, go and give it a like. Comment below what you're enjoying and not enjoying. And subscribe to the channel for lots of TEW 2020 content, including this series, my MLW 2005 series, my WCW 1993 with no Eric Bischoff series, and of course my Cornell vs. Weekends with the East Coast Wars and TCW 2016 and TEW 2020. But that's it for now, so talk to you later, and have a good one.